All right, everyone. I think I'm live. Okay, Facebook says I'm now live. Hello, everyone. So, hello on whatever platform you're watching this on. Happy March, everyone. It is Ayana, your life and soft skills coach. I am so excited to be doing part two of this video. Let me make sure that my volume is totally turned up here. I'm so excited to be doing part two of why being kind to yourself is so critical for your success. Okay, so if you missed part one, okay, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link for part one in the description so that way you guys can have it. Okay, so if you missed that video, make sure you check that out. Maybe it'll help to check them out in order. Okay, but I'm very, very excited to be doing part two. So last week we had a great conversation, and I'll get into what it is that we talked about. But happy March, everyone. And a little update on me. I'm getting over a cold, so if it looks like if you can see some darkness on my face, it's because I was blowing my nose like a crazy person and my skin got a little raw. So working on healing from that. I also had a fun and interesting run this morning where it hailed on me in San Leandro. Okay, so if you're in the Bay Area, you know it's like we've been having some weird weather out here, but the hail just came and hit me all over myself. But I'm proud of myself for getting out there and running. So get out there, be active if you can, enjoy yourself, be out in the natural world a little bit today. It does you some good, even if you get a little hailed on or rained on, but just be careful. So let's go ahead and get started and dive right into today's topic. I'm so excited. Again, we are talking about why being kind to yourself is critical for your success, part two. And remember, this has to do with both personal and professional success. And as I said last time, at this point in my career, you know, as I was a teacher for a long time, and then also I've been coaching for a while now, and I've had the privilege of coaching hundreds of people. And no matter what gender, what age, location, or industry people are in, this is a global issue, right? This is a very real problem. We all have a tendency to be hard on ourselves, to blame ourselves, to be mean to ourselves in our head, and it sabotages a lot of our progress. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm really excited because next week I have a course coming out on Udemy that's going to help you work through exactly this. So if this is a struggle area for you and you're like, okay, these videos are helpful, but how do I really change and what can I do and what activities? I got you. Okay, so stay tuned. Now let's last week's video we broke down the problems and some solutions, and we're going to go into some techniques in this video. But let me recap the problem. So last week we talked about, you know, the fact, and again, the link for that first video is in the comments, so go check that out if you missed it. But it is, you know, it's unfortunately normal for so many of us to have goals and things that we want to accomplish, but that we block ourselves from actually taking action or moving forward on things. And it's because we all have this inner voice inside of us, right? And for a lot of us, the inner voice is negative, okay? And I think, you know, when I talked about last week is that they actually did research on our inner voice and how many thoughts we have in a day, and we have tens of thousands of thoughts in a day, but the majority of them are negative from the research. I don't know how they do this research, but they figured that out. And it's real. You know, a lot of us are hearing voices in our head that say things like, I'm not good enough, you know, I'm not ever going to be able to change no matter what I do, right? Or I can never be more than where I am right now. And for a lot of us, it makes us feel like, well, why even try, right? And here's the sad thing. Our actions follow our thoughts. So as our thoughts go, so do our actions. And it talks us out of taking risks. And a lot of us are going to, you know, only going to feel comfortable staying in our comfort zones. But success requires risk taking, whether it's professional success or personal success. It requires risk taking. And a positive mindset, therefore, is critical to any type of success. You have to believe that you can do something in order for you to be successful with it. You have to believe that you are good enough and that you are worthy of the success and the outcomes. Okay, and again, like I said last week, if the tape deck in your head is negative, you have to change it. Okay, so last week we also talked about some solutions, right? So it's like, okay, what can we do? about all of this. And the first step that we talked about last week was self-forgiveness. Okay, so self-forgiveness is huge. It's about healing the past, healing the trauma and the issues and the shame that we have in our past. And for a lot of us, this is deep work that maybe requires years. But here's the good news. You don't have to wait years from now to be able to be successful. You can still take action today, but you need to do deep work to let go of shame for mistakes and issues and things that you've made in your life, okay? For things that you blame yourself for throughout your life. So if you blame yourself for a career path that you went down that didn't work, or in my case, blame yourself for all the student loans you might have had, right? Or whatever it was, the liberal arts degree that you had that didn't result in anything, right? Okay, that's part of my, is that only me, or is that other people who might be in a similar boat, right? But it is, you want to be thinking about all of the mistakes that you made. Maybe it's mistakes you made in relationships, or mistakes that you made, the list goes on and on and on, right? We have so many different things that we feel shame about that can stop us from moving forward. So the first step is self-forgiveness. We talked about that last week. The second step we talked about is self-compassion. Okay? And if you're like, Anna, what's the difference between self-forgiveness and self-compassion? Because those words sound very similar. And as the English teacher in me will tell you, yes, those words are very similar. But the difference between forgiveness is about weightier issues, the shame, the deep-seated shame that we deal with from the past. Self-compassion, as I define it, is more about the ongoing day-to-day maintenance and the present work. Because guess what? We as human beings continue to make mistakes, okay? We continue to make mistakes. So self-compassion is about being kind to yourself in the day-to-day as you make mistakes in your present. And it gives you the emotional resilience to get back up and to keep getting back up every time you make a mistake, right? And then the final thing is about self-acceptance, okay? So this is about loving yourself as you are right now. And last week we talked about that. We talked about the fact that it's not waiting until you weigh less. It's not waiting until you finally eat healthy or exercise. It's not waiting until you finally get to that level in your career, or you finally make this amount of money. No, it's about loving yourself right now as you are, because you're awesome, okay? And if you missed my amazing speech on why you deserve to love yourself and accept yourself right now, go back and check out that video. It's great, okay? So this is about, and as I talked about last time too, this has had a powerful impact on my life and on all of the folks that I've helped to coach. Okay, when you're able to work on all of these three issues, I mean, the mental health barriers and challenges that it helps you overcome are just incredible. Okay, it's one of the best gifts I gave myself, and it helped me achieve so many different goals that I have, from healthy goals, losing 50 pounds and keeping it off, and eating a mostly healthy diet now, starting a business and being successful with it, okay, and so much more, and the list goes on and on, okay? And you can, if this is a problem for you, this is an area that you can grow in as well, but you do have to do this mindset work first, okay? Now let's talk about some techniques, okay, because I love talking about these techniques, and these are techniques that have taken me years to work on, that I've tried, that are tried and true in my own life, and that I've also, given to hundreds of people that I've coached one-on-one, and thousands of people that I worked with in workshops and at speaking events and all of that, who've given me rave reviews about these techniques, okay? So I want to share them with you as well, all right? And then also too, they will be explored in, a lot deeper in my courses. So if you're like, okay, that information was great, but I don't really know how to implement it, I got you covered in my course, so stay tuned for that next week. But the first thing, the self-forgiveness, we talked about, this is working through and past long-term shame. So first things first is therapy or coaching, okay? Now, therapy and coaching are just, oldies but goodies as far as I'm concerned, because they are life-changing and amazing. Now, I've done both in my life, and I love therapy. I love coaching. And again, you got to get the right person. Okay, it's kind of like a marriage. You got to find the right fit. But when you find it, it's incredible. Now, what I love about therapy and coaching is that sometimes we need an outside voice. Okay, so if you're not aware that if you have mostly negative thoughts, or if you're not aware how this might be sabotaging you, therapy or coaching is going to be instrumental because it's an outside voice that can come in and help you notice your harmful messaging. When you're just talking normally to a therapist or a coach, they can say to you, hey, did you realize how negative that was? How you're kind of sabotaging yourself by saying this, by having these limiting beliefs, right? So they can point these things out to you if you're not aware of them, and they can help to give you techniques, okay? And then outside of that, there are things that you can do on your own that I think are extremely powerful. So one tool that I used with people when I was coaching them was a letter of forgiveness to yourself, okay? And this one can get a little real, okay? This is one where when you write it, you might feel a little emotional, for sure, but it's powerful because it allows you to work past, the shame that you have, and it is very healing and therapeutic. And I did this for myself around past goals that I didn't reach, around past relationships I had shame with, around the fact that I was a caregiver for my mom and I had a lot of guilt about not being a perfect daughter and not showing up for her the way that I wanted to. And I had to work through a lot of those issues. So I wrote myself a long, long letter until it felt complete. And it was amazing and therapeutic. And one of the things that it allowed me to do was to help me release the guilt from the past. And so if you want this resource, please reach out to me and let me know because it's incredible. I have a great resource I can walk you through how to do that. And then the second thing that we're going to talk about, the second technique around getting self-compassion. Now, if you remember, self-compassion is about the day-to-day maintenance, being kind to yourself with those day-to-day mistakes that we all make. And one of the things that I highly recommend is journaling on a regular basis about what you forgive yourself for. Okay? Now, this is critical. I said journaling. Now, some of us like to journal. Some of us are just like, yeah, give me a book. I'll open it. I'll write. Some of us are not natural journalers, and that's okay. But I highly recommend that you start out, that as you are starting these techniques, that you start with writing them down first. Why? Well, because research tells us that writing things down is extremely powerful and therapeutic, and it helps us retain information a lot better. For some reason, now they've done a lot of studies on this, and I've looked it up, and I can't remember all of the sciencey stuff behind it, so Google it. But writing things down does keep things in our brain a lot better. It helps the message stick. So I highly recommend that you start out with that first. And then as you get more advanced or more used to it, then you can transition into, either saying these things out loud in your head or doing it in front of a mirror. Okay, but here's the good news. Eventually, after you practice these things, it will start to get more and more natural in your head, but you must practice first, okay? So this is something that now I can do this to myself a lot better. I can actually talk myself through these things without having to journal it all the time. But you start first with writing it down, okay? And what you're going to do is, what you're going to write to yourself about is, again, what you forgive yourself for, and it's going to be on a regular basis. The things that you forgive yourself for on a regular basis. So we're talking big and small. Okay, this is critical. So you want to think about the big things, the big mistakes that you've made in your day-to-day life. Maybe the bill you didn't pay, the thing you were supposed to mail in that was really important and you didn't do it, the person you were supposed to call back, the friend you were supposed to help and you forgot or you let them down. All the way on down to the small things like the email you didn't send or the to-do list you didn't finish on time, etc., right? And the reason you're like, all of these things might seem kind of mundane, but the problem is that when we don't forgive ourselves on a regular basis for these things, they stack up and they become a laundry list of things that we beat ourselves up for. And that is where we start to be mean to ourselves and unkind, right? And it starts to play on our mental health in a major way, right? And unchecked, it can lead to depression, anxiety, all of these different things. And I know this because this was my life. So it's very important that we journal about what we forgive ourselves for. And if you don't know how to do this, I'm a former teacher, so I have a sentence starter for you, okay? What the sentence frame that I use is, I forgive myself for X because I know I was feeling Y, and next time I will do Z. Okay? So once again, I forgive myself for X because I know I was feeling Y. And next time I will do Z. Now, I don't have time in this video to get into the deep nitty-gritty of it, but again, when I do the course, I will break down exactly how to do this with examples and everything for you so that you know by the end of it, you're like, I can forgive myself for anything, okay? This is a really hard skill, and it takes a lot of practice and trial and error, and it takes a lot of guidance. So if you don't know how to do this, don't beat yourself up, okay? Don't add to the guilt, okay? But I will walk you through how to do this if you would like that support, so reach out if you would, okay? Because I love doing this. And the important thing about this is that what I love about this sentence frame is that you are giving yourself the kindness that we usually give to other people, okay? You are trying to be compassionate to yourself in a way that you maybe have not done so, okay? So this is a very, very critical sentence frame and a critical step for being kinder to yourself. And then finally, when we talk about self-acceptance and self-love, okay, let's talk about how to build accepting yourself and loving yourself as you are right now. Well, first thing you can do is go in the same way that we wrote a letter of forgiveness, and we went, and I encourage you to think about everything, all of the big things that you are upset about yourself for, that you beat yourself up for, that you have shame around. We can do the reverse, right? We can write ourselves a letter or a list of all of our accomplishments that we're proud of ourselves for, both personal and professional, right? So don't just think about the professional things, because you might run out of things to say, but think about the things that you're doing in your job now. Think about the things that you're doing for your family now. Think about, like, I was a caregiver for my mom. There's so many things that I did, so many wins that I had from that I can write. So you want to think about everything, okay? Or you can write yourself a pride, a celebration letter that shows pride for who you are, okay? That is an amazing tool that I've used, and it makes you feel really good about yourself. You're like, oh wow, okay, I actually do have more to contribute than I thought. And then finally, journaling about the things that you are proud of yourself for day to day, right? So think about all wins, big and small. So the letter itself is about past things, okay? And the day-to-day journaling, the ongoing journaling that maybe you do on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, it's about the things that you're doing in your day that are big and small that you want to celebrate, okay? So did you finally send an email? Did you pay a bill? Did you help a friend? We do things all the time that we don't give ourselves credit for. So write them down so that you can remind yourself how amazing you are, okay? And here's the thing, we all have way more wins than mistakes, but we just hyperfixate on all those things we do wrong. So change the narrative, shift how you view yourself, and shift how you're viewing that. And then finally, journaling about all the things that we're grateful for. Okay? So we want to think about all of our gratitudes, big and small, day to day. Now, sometimes with gratitudes, we can think about, the things in our lives, the big things, the family, the friends, the job we might have, etc. But I want to challenge you to think about the small things as well. The little things. Did somebody give you, this morning on my run, I got to see my friends and run with my friends, and I hadn't run with them in months. It was amazing. And we got to talk and have good conversations, and they got to help me work through some issues that I'm having in my life, some concerns I'm having in my life, and vice versa. So I'm grateful for that run. I'm grateful for that conversation. I'm grateful for a walk I had. I'm grateful for a hug my daughter gave me, right? So all of these different things that we don't think about, or that we kind of forget about in our day-to-day, write them down, okay? Don't forget about the small things. The small things are critical, okay? The small wins and the small gratitudes are critical. And so, in conclusion, all of this will help you to be kinder to yourself, be happier, have better mental health, and all of that is critical for helping you accomplish those goals, both professionally and personally, okay? But again, all of this takes practice, and it is a lot easier said than done. So if this is something that you are struggling with, I'm extremely happy to say that by next week, I will have my very first Udemy course going, okay? And it's going to be about actually learning and practicing these skills, okay? So if you need help, you're like, hey, these are things I've been trying at. I hear what you're saying, but this is a struggle for me. I don't know how to make this stick. I got you, okay? It takes support. These things took me years to figure out, okay? So I'm here to help. And next week I'm going to come with another video on another topic, and I cannot wait to see you guys next week, okay? So whatever you're watching this on, follow me, subscribe, whatever it is that you can get the updates about these different things that are coming up, because I have so much more that's coming down the pipeline, okay? We all deserve it. Everyone, you all take care. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.